Good morning everybody, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. It's actually the previous evening here in Orlando. I'm doing this a little bit early just because there's a lot to edit and it's going to take me too long in the morning to do. So apologies, but here we are. A lot to get through. I'm going to start with the usual US cases and Florida cases as I have it right now because they've not been finalised. US cases are up a little bit, Florida cases have doubled today and I don't know why. I'm going to try and find out tomorrow and I'll put that in the next day. Looking at Universal Orlando, they presented at the Orange County Task Force meeting today, kind of mind blown. They said, yeah, we're opening on June the 1st. It's like, what? June the 1st? I thought it was going to be July. And people ridiculing me for saying July. No, June the 1st. June the 1st and 2nd is going to be team member opening only, just so they can get things sorted out. 3rd and 4th is going to be selected guests only. Don't know if that's going to include annual pass holders or who it's going to include. And then the 5th is going to be when it's open to the public. It appears that it's all three parks. They didn't mention resorts, but I guess it's resorts as well. They were taking reservations from the 1st of June. I don't think they cancelled them. So great, good luck to the people who have got those reservations, and I hope the parks are open, all of them, on June the 5th. John Sproul, who's the Chief Administrative Officer for Universal Orlando, went through in quite some detail about how they were going to set out making people safe, team members and guests. So I've got a lot of that detail coming up in a minute. And then as an adjunct to that, we had the smaller attractions leaping in on the back of it, but they wanted to open earlier. So things like the Star Flyer, Icon Park, Gatorland, the Andretti Formula One karting, things like that. And they want to open between, it was yesterday, so that can't happen, and June the 3rd. So it looks like by the weekend, certainly by a couple of weeks' time, all those smaller attractions are going to be open too. So Orlando's going to be a hive of activity again. So I'm guessing we're going to see a lot more hotels start to open up now and people start to trickle back into Orlando. I'm guessing more flights are going to start coming back into Orlando. So I guess, for the local community, it's fantastic news. I just hope everybody does what they're supposed to do in those parks and just behaves themselves. I didn't put anything out about Legoland in the video in detail. Legoland apparently have announced today that they're opening as well without masks, which I'm kind of astonished at. You won't find me going to Legoland. I just won't do it. If masks are mandatory, unless the scientists tell me otherwise, I'm wearing a mask. If they say it's okay not to, then I won't wear one. But that's where we are with masks right now, for me. And then the news that's kind of not the news today is Disney World were supposed to present today as well. They declined and said that they were going to do that at a later date. There's a kind of, I don't know whether it's a conspiracy theory or whether there could be some truth in it. There's a potential that Disney World could host the NBA. Obviously their season was curtailed, and because of the capacity of Wild World of Sports and things like that, and the resorts, which have 30,000 rooms, there is a potential for every NBA team to come to Orlando to play games. And I don't know whether that is going to stop them opening resort rooms for the public and the parks to the public. I don't know why the parks would not be open, but the resorts, if they were going to host NBA teams, maybe not. If the NBA teams have got to socially distance, be isolated from everybody else, then there's just a potential that all resorts could be off limits to guests. Don't know right now, just my guess, but the fact that SeaWorld have announced, Legoland have announced, and Universal have announced, while Disney World haven't announced, and given that they've got actual test results from Shanghai Disneyland, you'd think that they could announce, but they haven't. So I guess it's watch this space from Disney World. They've got to announce soon. Okay, so before we get to the news today, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll get this stuff 6 days a week at the moment. It might become less of it now because we're getting towards that point where the parks are going to open, but once the parks are opened, I'm going to be back in them and I'm going to be doing more vlogging stuff from the parks, which is what I kind of used to do before this. So if you're getting mileage out of this, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell. Okay, let's go to the news. Just before we get to theme park announcements, A quick update on cases in Florida and in the US. So yesterday currently is 25,589 new cases, and in Florida 1,204 new cases. US cases are up a little bit on yesterday, while Florida cases are more than double yesterday. I need to find out why that is. The Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force met on Thursday afternoon. Among the agenda items was the proposal to reopen Universal Orlando Resort and also a number of smaller attractions. John Sproul, Chief Administrative Officer for Universal Orlando, then outlined his plans. He said on the 1st and 2nd of June only Universal team members would be allowed in, and that would allow them to vet everything that they were doing to make sure it works in a controlled environment. June the 3rd and 4th is reserved for invited guest testing, and then on June the 5th the parks would open to the public. No details were given as to priority of tickets, whether annual pass holders would be invited first or day ticket holders, and whether this would be subject only to Florida residents gaining entry or anybody gaining entry. Mr. Spruill then talked about what Universal are calling the guest's journey. This is about guest safety from the moment the guest makes contact with Universal right the way through their journey. Universal has also created the team member journey, which is designed to keep their team members and their guests safe. This includes mobile food ordering even in back of house areas, staggered breaks and social distancing backstage also. Wardrobe procedures have also been changed so that team members can take their wardrobe home with them. Mr. Spruill then outlined the 3 S's: screening, sanitation and spacing standards. This highlighted temperature checks for guests at all entrances, masks being required for both team members and guests, with free disposable masks being given to guests who didn't have one, and no valet parking. Universal is going to start with a lower capacity and ramp up. Interactive play areas are going to be closed to protect children. Any water or misting elements in rides will be suspended. Virtual lines will be implemented. Single rider lines will be eliminated and guests will stay with their party, not commingled with others. There will be no post-show meet and greets. Mobile ordering will be implemented on all food items and contactless payment will be available. Cash will still be accepted in some locations. Hand sanitizer stations will be available at the entrance and exit of every attraction, food venue or merchandise venue. Team members in guest contact areas will wash their hands at least every 30 minutes. And for team member comfort, they will have more frequent breaks for hand washing and social distance mask removal. Signage will be implemented at key guest entry points, toll booths, plaza, security and temperature screening, and the entry to City Walk. This includes the mandatory wearing of masks, temperature screening, washing of hands and social distancing. A-frame signage and floor decals will be used at key guest touch points like queues, lockers, store walkways, shows, etc. The guidelines for both team members and guests can be found at guest services in the form of a guest communication handout. Signage showing social distancing in attraction queues will be posted at the entrance to attractions. The meeting heard that field inspections had occurred for Universal Parks and Resorts earlier in the day on Thursday, May the 21st. Universal sent their plan for reopening to Mayor Jerry Demings just an hour before this meeting started. During the meeting, a vote was taken of the task force members as to whether they would adopt Universal's opening procedures. That vote was carried unanimously. Also on the agenda at yesterday's meeting was a number of reopening plans submitted by smaller attractions. They included Gatorland, Fun Spot and Icon Park. The 12 listed attractions had opening dates ranging from May the 20th through to June the 3rd. The submitted plans had common elements, including employee screening, employee training, social distancing guidelines, hand sanitizers, and operational adjustments. Field inspections of these attractions had also occurred on Thursday the 21st of May, with most demonstrating their ability to implement the plan as presented. As with Universal Orlando, a vote was taken to approve these plans and was unanimously passed. Finally, Walt Disney World were due to present today at the task force meeting but said they would present later. It appears that Walt Disney World is the frontrunner to host the NBA. It's not yet known whether this is going to be all teams or just some teams, but the resorts could host them. It's not known yet whether this could delay the opening of any parks or resorts to the public. Okay, so Universal Orlando opening to the public on June the 5th. Nothing outlined about who's going to be able to go. Is it just Florida residents? Is it just annual pass holders? Is it just day ticket holders? I'm guessing they're going to implement the same as Disney have done at Shanghai, which is if you're an annual pass holder, you're going to have to go on an app and say, okay, I want to go at that day, that time. I don't know how many times you're going to be able to do that. Like, you're going to be able to do it every day for as long as you want, or is it once a week, or what? They've said they're going to open at a lower capacity than, I guess, than 50%. They're allowed to open at 50%, and hopefully they won't. If they open at 25%, 30%, I'd be happy, because then at least they can get their act together. There's going to be teething issues, no doubt, and it's much easier to deal with those teething issues at 25% capacity than 50% capacity. But I'm sure there's going to be more meat put on that bone very, very shortly, because we're under 2 weeks away now. Well, 10 days away from, 13, 14 days away from opening to the public. So 2 weeks-ish. So there's going to be probably a lot more news coming out of Universal on that. The smaller attractions opening up, good news for them, good news for their employees. I do think I'm going to go have a tickle on Starflyer. I've never actually been on that ride before. It looks absolutely terrifying. 400 feet up in the air, and just, I don't know, a plank of wood or a piece of plastic that thick between you and 400 feet down, and a few chains. So I am going to do it, just because I haven't done it before and I want to do it, but my heart's going to be jumping out of my chest, I think. Other stuff, lots of attractions. 12 attractions going to open, including Gatorland, including I don't think Ripley's was on it. Ripley's was undergoing some building works when I was down there a couple of days ago. Wonderworks is on that list, as is Mario Andretti Formula One car, not Mario World. That's probably 3 years away in Epic Universe. So all good, all very exciting today. Big news today. Lots of things going to happen. Lots more traffic going to be on I-4 again. Lots of people getting back to work, which is great. I really just hope people are sensible, follow the restrictions that are going to be put on them, and do as they're told, and then hopefully we won't spike. And this is dependent, obviously, all of this is dependent on Governor DeSantis signing it off and us getting into phase 2. So that spike up to 1,000 cases today, don't know where that's come from. I'm going to try to get to the bottom of that, but hopefully that's not going to put a spanner in any works. I mean, to be honest, now that these announcements have been made, it looks like a done deal. I don't know what would have to happen in order for us not to get to phase 2 and these parks to open. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll be back in 2 days in the evening. I'll be back 2 days in the morning, or tomorrow morning if you're watching this tomorrow, and that's it. Stay well, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers for now. Bye bye.